So if you've ever been trying to get somewhere in a car and you've got stuck in traffic, you'll know just how frustrating it is. Or you've got in the car and it hasn't started. There's a build-up of frustration of things stopping you from getting to the place that you need to be. What we're going to cover in today's training are the 4 biggest blockers that I've come across that stop men from progressing in the first 2 to 4 weeks of their journey. And even when they are in the mix of their journey, when they've been working on themselves for 1, 2, or 3 years, these are the same 4 things that keep cropping up. The same villains, the same distractions, the same things that keep forcing men to quit because it all gets too much. And by the end of this video, I'm going to show you the standard operating procedures, principles, and systems that you can put into place to overcome each one. Now, I've been working on myself since 2013, and as I've gone through that journey, I have evolved mentally, emotionally, and physically. My trainings have evolved. The systems that I use and teach and preach have evolved. And throughout the whole of that journey, these 4 key areas that I'm going to talk about, these 4 villains, I've experienced each and every single one of them. So when I'm talking to you about them, not only do I hear about them from other men out of the 15 to 20,000 that we've had impacted, but I also know the pain of it myself. I've also been there in the trenches when it's got really tough, and each one of these I've had to confront. So what we're going to do is go through each one right now, and at the end of each one, I'm going to kind of give you the SOPs and key things that we teach in our Mission 365 to make sure that we don't fall into that trench of that quadrant of that factor, of that villain, and end up losing like Superman does when the kryptonite's out.
Don't talk to me!
So the first one that we want to look at is the comfort zone. All right. So when we get into that comfort zone, this is where the excitement of your journey fades. Now, working on yourself should be one of those things that we are excited about. When we feel progression, it's something that we thrive on. It's something that gets the adrenaline going. It's something that we wake up, we go, man, I'm working on myself, compounding lots of small micro wins to build the macro wins. But when we get comfortable, that excitement fades, and when that excitement fades, we start to negotiate the standards that we are trying to set for ourselves. Now, in order for us to progress in our business, in our life, in our relationships, we want to feel like we're moving along. But if we negotiate the standards, what we do is we end up turning around and going back to identity that does not serve us. So I want you to imagine that guy. I call it the fuck you identity, because the fuck you identity is the one that says fuck you every time that you have an inch of weakness. You go back to those habits, those routines, that mindset, that attitude to life where you stop showing up. What we're trying to work towards is the identity of the man that you know that you're capable of, that you have to rise and grow to fit into those shoes. And when you negotiate your standards, you head that way. Okay, you don't head towards the guy that you know you're capable of being. And what we end up doing is we pull back into old habits. We kind of fall back into that state, and it just creeps. It's very slow. It's very subtle. It's like a drift. It's like your misalignment because you got comfortable, you got soft. And this is where men are at their weakest, because in here, we convince ourselves that it's okay to just step back because it feels safe. And that is one of the biggest villains that stops men from progressing. It's one of the things that is men's kryptonite, and it will slow you down and it will make you quit. And you'll come back in 2 or 3 months and you'll feel optimistic again, but the comfort will come back. So what we have to do, there are 3 key things that we make sure that we do in our Mission 365 program, which, by the way, you can learn more about by clicking the link that is directly in our description here. You can see what we do and how we help men. We build non-negotiables. So non-negotiables are habits, routines, structures, systems that we embody. And when we embody, it becomes part of our DNA. So things like our morning routine, our evening routine, training 4 days a week, doing our weekly plans, doing our accountability. All of this builds up all of the habits, routines, and systems that kind of connect us and make us who we are. So we don't negotiate on standards. We don't negotiate with comfort. We don't negotiate with the fuck you identity. It's all about driving and moving forwards. We then look at the clarity over emotion. So instead of reacting emotionally and lowering our standards and stop showing up, what we do is we build clarity of who we want to become, the man that we need to be, and the things that need to happen to be that guy, so that we're leading at home with our family, we're leading in our career, we're leading our decision making. And then we got to show up even when it's inconvenient. Even when we are feeling overwhelmed and our back is up against the wall, we've got to condition ourselves to take these micro steps to break the cycle of that old identity. Because when we fall into the comfort, we feel safe with those old processes. So in order to be this dude, okay, we're going to show up even when we don't feel like it. So number 2 is the identity imposter. Okay, you recognize this. This is an internal narrative that you have inside of your head. So it's the self-belief piece. It's where we go, I can't ever lead that guy. I can't change. I can't see things differently. I'm not good enough. And a lot of that probably stems from your past, from your childhood, from previous experiences, from trauma that you faced, whatever it might have been. And it's the inability to believe that you can become this new identity that we're trying to be, to rise to be the man that you know you're capable of for your family, for your kids. So we negotiate inside of our head and we go, we're not good enough, so we go backwards. I always quit, so we go backwards. So that's what we got to change. And it's who do you think you are to be that person? I had this when I coached myself, when I started coaching men, when I started leading men, when I started showing them the path, I felt like an imposter. I felt like, who am I to be able to teach these guys? And then over time, I became more confident in my ability because I've been there. I've experienced every single feeling, emotion, hardship that every man has ever faced when they'd come through our front door. So I've got every right to be able to teach that. And I built that inside of my head. And that's not arrogance, that's internal confidence. That's the identity piece where we don't allow it to be an imposter. We embrace who we're trying to be, that man that we're capable of being proud of that person that we want to become. And all of this, like I said, attacks your self-belief, okay? Going backwards to feel safe. So when we feel out of our comfort zone, we feel anxiety, we feel nervousness, we shy away. It's like people who are at the very top in terms of athletes, in terms of professional sports, it's like them buckling under the pressure because they don't believe themselves. You see this when players come on to play professional football or sprinters at the start line of the 100 meters, they doubt themselves and then they flop because they don't believe. So they then go straight back to that old habit. Okay, so the way that we kind of do that, we do daily identity anchoring. So write on your phone a statement of the person that you want to become. I, James, want to be a really strong man. I can be a really strong leader for men. I want to be a strong leader for my family. You have the capability of being successful in business, and you can do that through your training, through your practices, through consistency. And you reinforce your subconscious every morning by reading that piece. Read the man that you want to become. Write a brief paragraph of who that man is that you're going to become. Okay, reminders of who you are and not who you were. Okay, so write down every single morning, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, these are my principles, values, visions. When you do that over and over and over again, you leave that old identity. And this is what we do when we work with men in our Mission 365 system, right? We bring people in and we build them internal, inside out, not outside in, because on the outside we're successful, but we lead a double life because internally we self-doubt ourselves, we do stupid shit, we make bad decisions. But what we need to do is go, man, I am the man, I can break forward, I can drive forwards, okay? So that's the identity imposter. Number 3 is the overwhelm. This is a big one. I get caught out on this a lot, okay? We try to fix everything right away, especially when we start a journey. We're like 2 or 4 weeks into something. We're like, man, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to change my world. I'm going to change my health, my finances, my career, my business, my relationships. And you spin too many plates. Too many plates are spinning. So we can't keep up. All right. And that ends up leading out to you burning out mentally, emotionally, and physically before we've even fucking started. You haven't even got off the ground yet and you're burnt because you're trying to achieve it all. You're not thinking long term. You're not thinking marathon, you're thinking sprint, but you're not conditioned to sprint. It's like if I brought you into the gym and you'd never deadlift, I'd never put you on 100 kilograms. We would just work with the bar for the first 4 to 6 weeks and then we put weight on. And by the end of the year, you'd be deadlifting 100 kilograms. And we overestimate what we can achieve in like a year, but underestimate what we can achieve over 5 years, the life that we can build, okay? And there are too many yeses. Too many of the guys that come into our program are yes men. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll work extra. Yes, I'll take on that responsibility. Problem is when we say yes to one thing, we're saying no to another. And that's a big problem. Because if we say yes to more work and we're saying no to more time at home. If we're saying yes to more work, we're saying no to taking care of yourself in the gym. If we're saying yes and you're committing something to somewhere else, you're saying no to finding time for yourself. So there's always a sacrifice and you've got to ask what that is, okay? You can say yes to the chocolate cake, you're saying no to the flat stomach. Do you know what I mean? And we become reactive here, very reactive when we're overwhelmed because we're highly stressed. So the way that we do this is that we keep it simple. We have one mission, we limit our priorities, okay? And then we have structure over intensity. So what we have is a sequence where every single day we have 3 key focuses. Number 1 is always your training goal. Number 2 is your top priority in your business career. Number 3 is your top priority in your personal life. Those 3 things move you forwards. Then you do the same the next day. Then the next day, then the next day, and you compound all of these 1% wins by facing each priority, not going, these are my top 10 fucking things that I'm going to achieve today, my top 10 professional things that I'm going to do. It's simple. One mission, one thing that we're trying to achieve. And we have a structure in the Mission 365 where every week we do our weekly planning. And then on the Wednesday, we do a check-in to see how we're operating, where are we at? And then we've got a morning accountability, evening accountability. So we're kind of reviewing, analyzing, improving, learn, grow, repeat. And that allows us to recognize if we're slipping into overwhelm. Okay. Emotional hijack, the biggest ambush for men. Okay. Number 1 is derails responses when we are stressed. So when we are stressed, when we are uncentered, we react poorly. We derail. We're like, fuck it. And you start heading towards that identity, the fuck you identity. He's like, I'm all over you. I'm going to take you back. Your response is reactive. Okay, you've derailed yourself. You then start going down the wrong path, making bad decisions, and you go back to the old identity. Okay. Number 2 is you abandon structure. Everything goes because you're like, you feel overwhelmed with emotion. So you abandon any structure that you've built. Like all of that hope, optimism, it's gone. Because you're going back to that identity anchoring, okay? We operate emotionally, and when we operate emotionally, here underneath, we have comfort vices. So drink, drugs, porn, going out, whatever it might be, bad decisions, okay? We slip back, everything that identity says it wants to be. And in order to rise to be the man that you know you're capable of being, to build your mission, to build your future, to be a top 1% performer, to be the identity that we're trying to be right here, we have to be able to manage those emotions, okay? And it might feel like you're getting overwhelmed or hijacked with that emotion, but that's where we then do some of the work on ourselves, which I'll talk about in a second. And the last part here is we lose presence, okay? We lose presence with the family, okay? Right here. And the way that we do this is that we emotionally command ourselves through our morning routines, the practices that we have in our morning routines, through our training regimes, through our training structure, through our evening regimes. All of it is designed to make us more aware of what's happening with us emotionally. Because your emotions are the biggest hub point of the decisions that you make of how successful you are. If you get emotional, you start snapping at people, you lose customers. If you start snapping at people at home, people lose respect for you. Okay? Lots of bad shit can happen when you lose your emotions. So controlling your emotions has to be one of your biggest priorities. We have emotional regulation and then making calm decisions. And this is done by regular practice every day, over and over and over again. So in summary, it doesn't matter how motivated you are, there are things that are going to stop you. Getting in a comfort zone, identity imposter, overwhelm, or emotionally hijacked. These are the top 4 things that we've seen in all of the men that we work with. And just being aware of these allows you to step up your game. And if you can overcome these, what you can actually do is avoid the drift. Now, what happens if we don't handle these 4 areas is that we begin to drift, and the consequences of drift are very powerful. And we put together a 6-part series on how to go from drifting to mission focused and mission ready. And you can watch episode 1 right here. And if you like what we're talking about, and you want to learn more about the principles and the teachings and the structure and accountability in our self-leadership course in our Mission 365 program, in the description, I've put the link for you to join. There is also the opportunity for you to join our Mission Hub, which is our free community, where there is free training for you to learn and grow and build the practices that will help you conquer this.